built in Maine, where the grit runs deep. Stories of the bold who don't lose sleep. From small town starts to the next big leap, we're talking real moves, not just cheap talk and dreams. Ideas that grow, lessons that stick. If you're building your own, this is it. This is the Red Claw Edge. Now over to our host, Sean Packard.
I'm Sean Packard with Red Claw Media, and today we have Nick from Nicholas Electric. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just tell me a little bit about your business and how you got started, and what led you to kind of create your own business in electrical work.
Sure. So I got into the electrical field a year after high school. I was kind of looking for my future career, and at the time it was a little uncertain. I thought maybe I'd get into landscaping, and then one day I met with a friend who worked at CMP, and he said, hey, let me give you a tour of the place and you can kind of see what we do here and how everything works. And so I went and did a tour, and I was really fascinated by what was going on there, and he said I could get you a job here, if you go to school for a year at the community college. And it sounded awesome, so I struck out to start a career to end goal to work at CMP. And from there, as I started school, I started to enjoy it. I started to enjoy electrical and what I was learning, and thought, wow, I could do more with this. I could see myself doing something other than even CMP, maybe being a full-time electrician. So, yeah.
So what is it like, doing that electrical work and kind of coming from, as you said, just kind of being awe-inspired by that line of work, and then to be, having your own company essentially now. Did you end up thinking you'd be here, right, from kind of being starstruck, if you will, by CMP?
Right. So I did have a vision that when I was 21, my desire was to start a business that one day would self-sustain itself, so that I could get into working in the ministry in the church full time. That was really my heart, my vision. And, of course, the electrical field happened to be that channel that I chose and I fell in love with. And, and I can say that I truly love the electrical industry. As a business owner now, I guess I never envisioned, I always planned on it, but now being here, it's kind of surreal now, just running the company and trying to get it to that point where it truly is self-sustained, allowing me to do that original vision, which was, minister in the church. So
That's incredible.
yeah.
Give me a little bit about what exactly you do with the electrical work. Who do you service?
Yeah, so we service all of Central Maine. We're based out of Winslow. We do anything from residential, commercial. We do remodels, reconstruction, rewires. Right now we got teams working on a commercial project down in Brunswick. We just finished up a commercial project for the state of Maine in Augusta for the Department of Agriculture. We hired up a laboratory that does PFAS testing. We got teams rewiring multi-unit apartment buildings. We have a condo project down in Waterville that just started. So, our main area would be Central Maine, Waterville. I would consider Waterville our hometown. We're based out of Winslow, so our goal is to cater to the Waterville-Winslow area. And so, yeah, we do everything also from standby generators, Generac Kohler, portable hookups. We also offer heat pump services. We do full install turnkey to include maintaining, cleaning, as well as full services.
So you have, sounds like quite a bit of employees. How many and what was that process like, obviously, as you started?
Sure. So I have 10 employees currently, and 8 years ago was when I started, and it was me, of course, and I did all the work, all the paperwork, all the book work, and Then as I started, taking on projects where I needed an extra hand, then I hired a person to come with me, and that looked like um, local guys, friends, and from there I started to get into networking and trying to grow my business. I utilized networking organizations like BNI and headhunting companies that would help get referrals, and then also word of mouth. Word of mouth was huge, and so from there I went from a 2 employee to eventually 4 employees, and then 6 and 8, and it just kept growing. And I would say that by year 2.5 to 2.5, I got to the point where I was so busy that I couldn't follow up with clients as quickly as I'd like. The growth was at a point where I needed to bring on that full-time person to handle answering the phone calls, setting up appointments with the clients, and then that was kind of where we took that next step as a company in growth.
Yeah.
So
You also wired this building.
Yeah.
So you're definitely always around. I see you everywhere. I see the vehicles everywhere. I definitely see that the community impact that you guys have made. You're part of the chamber. You're almost at everything all the time. That's great. Great to see such a small group of people growing. Something else that I wanted to touch on, it's veteran owned.
yes.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, speak about that a little bit.
Yep. So I was in the United States Marine Corps for 7 years as a optics technician, and I maintain anything with sights, night vision goggles, lasers. That was my job, and so I did that for 7 years. And also, a lot of the guys in my company are also veterans. We have Marines, we have soldiers, Air Force. So I would say 75% of the company is all veterans.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which shows, and also just how we operate as a company too, because those same values and the trainings and also the camaraderie that we had while we were in the military, that bleeds into our personal everyday lives when we work together. We've had clients call and just say, the way your team works together, they're like a well-oiled machine. Like, they look out for one another. They're just very kind and just driven, and that a lot of that does come back to that military background. And then me being in the military, kind of that leadership, I'm able to kind of pass that on, and we actually talk to each other like we're in the military sometimes. So it's very it's certainly a piece that helps gives us that organization that we have and that work ethic.
Yeah. You have the place right in Winslow. It's growing, right?
Yep.
You're kind of expanding in that little building that you have there. Speak to that and kind of the growth of what you kind of see yourself doing in the next, say, 5-10 years.
Yeah. So 8 years ago, the business started at my duplex that I lived out of. I started the business right out of my 2-car garage. I had a tenant living downstairs. We had a dumpster on site, and all my employees would come and park in whatever driveway space was available, side of the road. And we did that for 6 years. And then it got to the point where now I had 4 or 5 vehicles parking on the side of the road, and we were certainly taking up a lot of real estate. And also my garage was overflowing with materials, inventory, tools, and it was at the point where I had to make that move, and I was going to look for something to rent. And then one day I was driving down Halifax Street in Winslow, and this building went up for sale, big sign out front, and I looked at it and I said, that's our shop. That's my shop. And so I stopped in. The owner was there. We chatted, and we were able to work out a deal, and we moved into it right around the same time that big storm in December happened back in, I think it was 2024, December of 2024, where the power was out for a week in Waterville and Winslow, and everything was kind of shut down. I signed papers right in the middle of that, and we were running around just trying to get power back up for customers, setting up portable hookups for people just to make sure that people didn't freeze. Like, it was almost like we were an emergency response team as a company. And my guys, we were just all over the place. Materials were coming in daily, and And then I basically had to stop to go sign papers really quickly. And then I was back out in the field with the team as well, even though now I take more of a, an ownership role and more of a delegation and an organization piece. During that storm, I was right there in the field with the team doing installations. So,
Yeah, I've definitely been there where you have to kind of step away and you
Yeah.
have to focus on the business. And there's nothing like getting out there though and being on boots on the ground again.
honestly, that's where I love to be.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's where I love to be. And so,
And that's great because that's where the you kind of build that foundation, right? So all the values and morals that you instill into the company, that carries to the employees that are doing that groundwork, and that's just huge. You can't match that anywhere else. There are good leaders that just lead, but there are even better leaders who have started exactly where the people that you're hiring start, and that's just super impactful. So what are some of those big goals that you might have that for the next few years coming up?
So the next few years, we would really like to gain more notoriety in the commercial industry right here in Central Maine. We're trying to work with more GCs that do commercial work, and whether we do more work for a state contract or even just local businesses that are expanding multi-units. That's what we would love to be a part of. Really love what's going on in Waterville. Like I said, I look at Waterville and Winslow as my community. I would love to keep my community, keep my team local. And that's the big thing too, is I try to cater my growth to also like keeping my employees local so that they don't have to travel. And thankfully over the last 4 to 5 years, we've been able to keep most of our business within 30 minutes of Winslow, Waterville. So the growth I'd like to see would be right here in our local community. If a resident of Winslow calls, we try to service them same week that they call, even though we may have a 4 to 6 week lead time. I've told my office that if someone in Winslow calls, let's try to fit them in right away, just to emphasize that, hey, we're here for our community. So, but yeah, so future growth would be that we just continue to build the building blocks as a company, right? There's a lot that goes into building a company, so many pieces, the organization piece and the flow and the efficiencies. And so we're just continuing to make that seamless, flawless, so that everything that we do it really, really well. And that customer service piece and the quality is all perfect every time.
Yeah, and because this is, obviously not just a business, it's a piece of the community. I see that all the time. I see that when you're out at MMTC helping the kids establish what it's not just like to be an electrical worker, but to own a business, start a business, and then even potentially work for one. And what that means, and that's incredible, and again an integral piece of how you build community.
Right.
So I see great things, and that's you can't put a price on that. In other words, you talk about obviously that you wanted to do full-time ministry. That's amazing, and that also speaks to your values and morals, and I'm sure that bleeds into the business, and that's huge these days.
Right.
So as I mentioned with the MMTC thing with kids and upcoming, is there maybe opportunity to do interns for kids, or what are your aspirations in that field?
Yeah. Because I do want to be a big part of the community, and I love the electrical field. That's kind of why I've really tried to invest as much time as I can to Mid-Maine Technical Institute, because one, I love the electrical field, and I think it's one of the best trades, and I would love to see. I know that there's a huge need for it, and even for us, you couldn't get enough electricians at one time. And so, but we did do internships. We've done internships for the last couple of years from students from that program. 2 of them have become full-time employees.
Wow.
And then we had another one that we brought on this past summer, and he went on to take a position at another local, well-known company as well. So it's certainly helping.
Yeah. Good.
And it's helping these kids start to get that experience hands-on, because obviously there's nothing like real world experience.
Right.
I mean, school is good, absolutely, it's great for the building those, those building blocks, but then when you're hands-on, it's a whole another experience. I mean, and they've realized that too at the Technical Institute, that hey, these students, the ones that are interning for you, are well beyond other students, just because there's nothing like the real world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we've talked about all the exciting things upcoming and the things that you've done to get there, and all that hard work. What are some challenges that you might have faced first starting off in the business, and then maybe ones that you still face today?
I would say, for me, I never took any business classes or courses, so everything I did was the first time. And so when you do something for the first time, you make mistakes, right? Unless you're just a rock star and already, unless it's ingrained in you and you just already have those abilities. If you don't, though, most people make some mistakes along the way, and those mistakes are ones that you have to work through. And so challenges would be like learning how to run a business. I felt like I could do great with customer service. I love people. I'm good with that piece. I was good at what I did, so I had that piece down. And then the business side of things, like building those building blocks, the financial side, those were all things that I learned as I went. How to get a lawyer, how to get an accountant, doing all those pieces. Those were the things that I learned as I went. Some of them I started out without those pieces, and I had to kind of work through the challenges that come from consequences of not having that. And so now it's great to see like the growth now, and looking back, and what I would tell my wife is the seasons that we're in, this is a season now, but like wait another year or two to see. And we can truly look back and say, look at that growth, look how we changed, look how we got smarter, better, learn from our mistakes. And so I would say that would be the beginning phases of the business, is getting established. I could produce a great product and get it done on time and take care of the customer. And then today, I would say our challenges are, now that we've grown, there's the growing pains of experiencing how to have the perfect systems in place so that nothing slips through the cracks. Every customer is taken care of. Every detail is taken care of. When you have 9, people out working, and you have, anywhere from four to six customers a day that we might be servicing, that's a lot of moving pieces.
It is.
And so, and a lot of details go with every single one of them. And so I'm thankful to have a really great office manager that's on my team, who's very organized, very sweet, great with the clients. Customers love her. When they call in, I have confidence that they're getting to talk to the right person. So much so that when I go do a walkthrough, the first thing they say is, "Hey, your office manager, Sarah, she's phenomenal. She's such a great person." And they've never met her in person, but just over the phone, or their experience was excellent. So, but yeah, so I would say now with the growth, learning how to evolve with that, and how to learn how to handle that growth would be the new challenge today.
Yeah.
So,
And you obviously mentioned you cater to Central Maine.
Yep.
So what about Central Maine have you enjoyed, and what are some of those difficulties that Central Maine provides?
Central Maine has been very busy the last 4 or 5 years, and that's been great. But it is a small community at the end of the day. Everybody knows each other, which is great. It's cool because the word of mouth piece is awesome. It spreads fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a huge piece that's helped us grow our business. I mean, I would say 50 to 60% of our business is word of mouth. And so I love Central Maine for that reason. I love how small it is. Obviously, there's great challenges with that too, because the pressures of like, making a mistake or letting a customer down, and how easily that word can also spread too. Which we try to avoid that at all costs, whatever it takes. Which, speaking of that, that's like one of our inside joke slogans in the company, is whatever it takes, we get it done. But that would be one of the cool things about Central Maine is it's a great small knit community. I've just in the process of rejoining a business networking group with a lot of local people, and it's good to be part of like that family.
Yeah.
I would say Central Maine is definitely like a family, because it's so small. Everybody does know each other. You could mention one name, and majority of the time, that person knows them or have heard of them. So it's very neat like that, and then maybe any challenge would be, because it's smaller, maybe not as much work to spread around. But as of right now, we haven't seen that, and like I said, we've been able to stay busy within 30 minutes of Winslow. So we're servicing, we got a lot of surrounding towns: Fairfield, Oakland, Pittsfield, Benton, Albion, Clinton, all those towns. Augusta, we service Augusta and Pittston, Gardner. So Manchester, Winthrop, we go all the way around. So, yeah.
So, if you will, what is like an elevator pitch for Nicholas Electric, and what do you offer? And obviously, I know you mentioned what you do, but and then what is your ideal customer, I should say?
Mm.
Yeah.
I guess based on our business model, we're always going to be a company that caters to the residential community. And then even though we want to get into more of the commercial, the residential community will always be the ones that we cater to. And so if you're in the residential community, that's good for you, right? Because Nicholas Electrical Company's here to service you and to take care of your needs. But as far as, I guess I would say, maybe expand on that maybe a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you have your motto, if you will, and for your company, and that would be part A, I guess. Part
Yep.
B would be like, who are you looking to kind of get into? Like you mentioned the company side or business side of things, and then what would that pitch look like if you were to?
Yeah. So residential, we're certainly here to cater to you. Commercial, we want the business, and we want to show you that what we can offer. I think that we offer a level of organization and passion for what we do that will be competitive in the market compared to other companies. And we have quality craftsmanship, a team of guys that have each other's back. One of the things that I can boast about is, you won't find a better team. You will not find a better crew of guys that have one another's backs. And obviously we mentioned the military piece of that, but there's even several guys that aren't in the military that they have the same mentality of like, we have your back. Our guys communicate with one another. If they have an issue, they call each other, they ask for information like, hey, what do you think we should do in a situation like this? Give me your input. And they work together as a team. And so I think that's very unique. And like going back to what I was saying, like clients will call and just let us know that the way your guys work together, like there was a leader, there was someone that was looking out for the other guys. If there was, the apprentice was, spoken to very politely and kindly, and, the leader took the time to train him and give him instruction, and they were like, that's just unheard of. You don't see that very often. One of the struggles that, a business owner might have, or a scheduling person in a company might have, is when I put people together to go do a job, I have to make sure I put the right guys together, guys that actually will get along. And that's one of the things that I don't struggle with, because I could put any guy with any guy in the company and they would get along.
That's great.
They love each other. They're truly, it's like a brotherhood.
Oh.
And it's not, I don't say that like anyone else might say, oh, we're a family. I would say there's the proof's in the pudding, So
That's great. And obviously that's super important with a job that deals directly with safety factors. And so not only are all of your guys able to perform the job efficiently and successfully as a team, but also safely.
Right.
And I think that's very important. So So as the leader of the company and the owner, what does that mean to you, like a leader or a CEO? And what kind of qualities would you look for in that kind of person?
Yeah. Obviously, I think one of the important things in this industry is, being a master at your craft. That's huge. The guys respect people that are knowledgeable and know what they're doing. So that's huge. And then also how you treat people. Just again, going back to I think one of the pieces, these guys do it naturally, but like how I try to treat them and talk with them and just show them that hey, I'm looking out for you. If you need anything, I'm here for you. Obviously we have expectations, we have jobs to get done, but at the end of the day, if something comes up, we'll pivot. If you have something that happens in your life where you need to leave and go take care of something personally, that's something that I try to cater to my team. If it's a family matter or personal, medical, whatever it might be, I try to be very accommodating and listen to the guys. If they have, I tell them, hey, this is an open door policy. If you want to talk to me, if you need something, I'm here. I'm here as a boss, but then also we can step aside and be friends and talk about stuff. You don't have to worry about that. And so I think a leader needs to be able to do that, but then also they need to be able to be direct, communicate well. That's a piece that I would say I'm constantly learning and growing how to do. That's a hard one. A lot of leaders don't always know how to keep emotions in check and be able to communicate with your team in a way that's not loaded with emotion, but it's direct and you communicate your point and what the expectations are in a way where they understand it clearly. They feel that it was constructive and they know what to do now. So I think that's a really important piece for a leader. And so that would be something I'd be looking for. So someone who's experienced in their craft, knows what they're doing, is willing to learn and grow always. Humility and knowing how to communicate well to your guys. So
those are very important
Very.
and
Very.
Increasingly hard to come across these days. So it's almost like you're looking for that needle in the haystack. The opportunities are there, and they're definitely vibrant. It's the qualities are lacking, and those people do break the mold when then they stand out in a room, which is you want these people to stand out of the crowd, right? At the same time, though, it's truly really hard to find people that share those qualities. So it's great that you have such a vast team that all seem to resonate with that. So that also speaks to your leadership skills. So it sounds like you take a piece of that pie and you understand what that is like, and you instill a lot of what you're looking for in yourself and what you do. So
I'd like to think that I do my best, and a piece of that has something to do with me, and of course the right personalities in the room matter too. The right team, and that's something too, is that I try to hire in such a way that keeps a team of individuals that are like-minded, that have a common courtesy and would be respectful, and if you don't fit that mold, then you wouldn't be the right fit for this team.
Right.
We don't like negativity. We don't like people speaking poorly about others and having a bad attitude. And of course, what I've learned and experienced is it rots out. It's like a cancer in a business. It brings down morale. And I've had seasons where I've had employees that have done that, and they've moved on or we've let them go, and it's amazing to see the spike in the morale and the quality and just how guys are when they come to work. They're much more happy, and their quality of work or their efficiencies are just so much better.
A lot of misconception in business is that it only starts from the top and
Mhm.
works its way down, but the reality is it can start from the bottom. And if you have a bad egg at the bottom, it can work its way up.
Mm.
And because that negativity spreads, and so then if you have this everyday boots on the ground person spreading negativity, it sets a bad impression for maybe the good leadership, and then the company kind of tanks. And obviously, it does work in reverse. If you have a bad leader, then you're just kind of leading yourself into nothing. But it's really great to just have that unity and that connection between each of the employees to work out things and have the conversations. And sometimes they may
Right.
be difficult, but they're important to have. And
Gotta have them.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's so key. On a lighter note, what
Mhm.
is something that what's the craziest thing that's happened in your 8 years of doing this so far?
Oh man, I wish you would have sent me that one ahead of time. Man, let's see. Let's see here. What would be a good one for them? Let's see. Well, there was it was recently you know, a flood that happened over here on Main Street in Waterville, and we went down. We got called to come in and see what had happened. A pipe had burst, but the power was still on in the basement, so we had to go in and shut power down. But we were walking in water that was touching energized parts in the building, and you know, and I know that electrically everything was grounded, but the thought of the fact that we were walking in water while there was energized parts and stuff, that was, you know, potentially a hazard, you know. And so I guess when I look back at that, I think about that was kind of a crazy situation, but kind of goes to show how electricity works. And when things are grounded, even though you could be walking in like water where the water's in contact with live energized parts, you're not getting electrocution because everything's grounded properly. So I would say that's one crazy story that we had recently when we look back on, like, man, like the potential that could have happened there. I have another great story. We had a project that we were doing down in York, and I brought the whole team down, and we had this like really short trench that we had to dig, and I decided, hey, we'll dig this trench by hand. You know, it's like 15 to 18 feet long. I was down there with the whole team. I said, we'll just all grab shovels and we'll just knock it out. And there was so many rocks in this trench that there was 8 of us there. And it took us 5 hours to dig this like 17-foot long trench. Because there was so many rocks. It was insane. Like when we actually ended up setting up a time lapse of it,
Really?
you know,
Wow.
ahead of time, because what we were there to do was do a service upgrade on this 6-unit condo on the beach. And so I was like, you know what, we don't need to, you know, rent an excavator. We're all going to go down. We'll knock it out as a team. We'll dig the trench by hand. We'll get all the old service demo, new service up. And we ended up being there until like, I'd say it was like 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And it was dark out, and we were landing the final pieces. The power company was there to re-energize. But I have this time lapse of all of us just in this trench, just taking turns. There'd be like 5 in the trench at one time. We had jackhammers. Like it was outrageous. I mean, and it was, I mean, my team now, we reference that story
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, we're running an excavator from now
Yeah.
to dig trenches. But that was crazy. We had this pile of rocks next to the trench that we had dug out. Big amount of rocks.
Wow. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I used to work at the town of Burnham. I used to dig the graves.
Yeah.
And yeah, I could tell you that if it's anything like that, or you know, where it's a lot more work than you thought going into it, then
Sure.
I can't imagine.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
Maine is something when it comes to digging holes. It's either clay,
Yep.
sand, or lots of rocks.
Right.
You know, nothing in between. It's
yeah.
never just, you know, what you want it to
Yeah.
be.
Just nice soil.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know how they did it
Thick
back in the
soil.
day to, you know, get all these fields for farming so proper. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. They were certainly pretty strong. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's kind of the craziest thing that's happened, right? What is the?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's crazier ones for sure. I just, my brain is not.
That's all right.
We've had experiences like customer experiences that customers threatened to shoot my guys on the job.
Wow.
And I mean, that was kind of scary. And so I had to, my guys called me and said, "Hey, we're kind of scared. We don't want to be here."
Yeah.
And so I told them leave right away. And I called the client and said, "I'm sorry, we can't do work for you. My guys are afraid that, because you told them that you were threatened to shoot them." And he was like, "Well, I didn't really mean that. I wouldn't have done that." And I'm like, "Well, you were really angry, and you certainly scared them." So
Yeah.
that would be an intense customer experience, I would say. But yeah, no, there's certainly we have a plethora of stories that I should write them down. So if I
Start
get
a-
asked like
start
this,
a
and
book,
yeah, oh yeah,
Um, so what is the best, you think? The like not the like obviously not the best crazy story. I'm saying
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what's one that you kind of went in and it was just a regular thing, and then all of a sudden it came this wonderful story that you can tell people.
yeah. Let's see.
I always go back to like it's always the sweet little old ladies. They're
Mhm.
typically the ones that have the best. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't expect it. You're there. Turns out to be a 3-hour day, and then
Yeah.
and then it's like the best thing because it made the world for them.
Right.
So,
Right. Let's see. Well, we did a project for a customer recently in Augusta. There's quite a few different things we did. We did a service upgrade. We rewired his home. We ran power out to his bicycle shop, and wired up a heat pump, and just a whole bunch of things. Vented out an exhaust fan that wasn't vented, and he just was just so grateful, and appreciative of the work that we did, and left us a lot of great reviews, on Google and Facebook, and those are the ones, right? Because we work with a lot of different customers, and they're always grateful and appreciative, but then there's the ones that just like really go out of their way and just let and when I met him for the first time, he said, "Hey, what you're doing is really great. I've been looking you up. I've looked at your social media. I've looked at your Google reviews. Everything you're doing is great. Your office manager that I spoke to, the way that you portray yourself, your team is awesome." And it was really cool that whole experience from start to finish was just so flawless for him, which is a testimony to like what kind of service that like we try to provide as a company. But I would say that as of recently that I can think of, that's one of my favorites so far. And this gentleman was just an awesome client, just very great, very grateful. And a lot of people are grateful when we turn their lights on for them, and put the power back on, or give them a little upgrade, a boost, and whatever, an EV charger, a standby generator, whatever, what have you. But that would be one that I could think of right off the top of my head. And very grateful for him, and he's already sent us a bunch of work, since that. But yeah, as of right now, I'd say that's one experience I can think of. Let's see if I got any more. That storm that we had a couple of years ago, that was another opportunity where, we were able to help people that were going to freeze if they didn't get a generator hookup.
Oh yeah.
And so, even though majority of the jobs were paid, some of them were paid later. Some people didn't have a lot of funds, so we kind of just worked something out. We took care of them, and we figured out a payment plan later. But there was just something about like saving the day, right? Because you felt like almost like a first responder of some type, where we're going in, and it was like right before things were about to get really cold. Power had been out, and we were about to get a really cold night. And I remember me and my team were just out, just doing installs, hookups, getting people up, telling them how to use their equipment, what heaters to use, and just how to be wise with what they had for power. That was a really great experience, and a memorable one, where you just feel like, you're not just, you're not just a business doing something for, a profit, but you're actually helping, you're able to help. And that's a great feeling. As human beings, I think we like to help and be needed. And so I would say that would be an experience that, that I had. And then let's see. Oh, and then and one more experience was, there was an older gentleman, friend of mine, who has COPD, has a really hard time breathing when it's humid out, and he had been, staying in touch with me. He'd had to go to the hospital a couple times because it was so humid out. He ended up having a breathing episode and was really struggling. So one morning, I just told my team, hey, listen, we're gonna go put a heat pump in his basement where he spends the most time, so that we can keep his air quality dry and he has a safe place to go in his home. And he didn't really have like the funds to really afford it, so I just said, let's just go do it. I'll figure out the money situation later. And we went, and the guys went over that morning, got a heat pump installed, and got it all up and running, by midday. And he had now a safe place to go, because COPDs is really tough. It makes it really hard. If people with COPD, if they're in humid areas, it's like basically the way you described it. It's like trying to breathe through a straw. That's what it feels like. You can't get enough air because of the humidity. And so this was an opportunity, and now it feels so good because like he does have a safe place he can go now and be comfortable and breathe easy, and the air quality. And that's the awesome thing about the heat pumps, is that they have that ability to dry the air out and make it cool, and take the humidity out. So I would say that'd be another great story and experience that I really enjoyed. So
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What are the biggest misconceptions of electricians, and how do you guys face those challenges?
Let's see. Interesting. Maybe. That's a good one, Sean. Yeah. Misconceptions. I guess as far as, what electricians actually do, what we're actually responsible for.
Take it as you want.
Yeah. As electricians, as licensed electricians, we can do everything, when it comes to wiring,
electricity coming out of your fingertips.
Yeah. We can run anything from like low voltage, data, your coax, your Cat 6. There's almost nothing that we can't touch, that we can't do. There's no other trade that has a license or a niche necessarily that, when it comes to electricity of any kind, even if it means like low voltage. As electricians, like we're licensed and qualified to do it all. So,
well, with that being said, what's the biggest power source that you've worked on?
I would say, for my company, for me, I would say probably a 2,000 amp service is probably the largest we've done so far. We're getting ready to do an 800 amp service here pretty soon, and then possibly a 1,200 amp service.
For people that don't know, put that into perspective.
Yeah, okay. So, the average home now has a 200 amp service. So that's 5 to 10 times the size power capacity that a normal home would have.
And what are some of those risk factors? And are they like room-sized power sources?
Yeah. So a lot of times with a service like that, you have to have a room that's at least 8 by 10. And to have let's just say a 1,200 amp service. You're going to have two 600 amp disconnects, and probably two 600 amp panels that are could be any size from 40 space to 84 space, or multiple panels. You might break that up between two 84 space panels, circuit breaker panels, where most homes have, a 30 to a 40 space panel max. And so, yeah, it's certainly much larger. And then also the conductors coming in. I mean, for a 1200 amp service, if a normal home has like three wires coming in that feeds their panel normally, or 4-wire, depending on if there's a disconnect in place. With a 6 or a 1200 amp service, I mean, now you're having anywhere from 6 to 12 to 16 wires coming in, feeding a main disconnect, and then from there branching off to feed multiple remote panels. So it's certainly much more robust. And then from there, you're running all your individual circuits to your receptacles and lighting and, motors and HVAC equipment and what have you. So, and then you get into like the cool stuff, which is, the lighting, and nowadays, like with technology, there's so much more with lighting controls, which is anything from like motion sensors and smart technology. Another new thing that's become very popular is smart panels, which is something that we are starting to get into more of. A panel that you can control from your phone, and you can see the usage on every single circuit in your panel.
Wow.
So you can see how much your refrigerator is using, or your dryer is using, your stove, the well. A lot of people nowadays, with the electricity bills being so high and having a hard time navigating, we get a lot of calls from customers saying, "Hey, not sure what's going on. My power bill's so high. I don't know where it's coming from. We're concerned." And a smart panel would certainly help a customer know exactly like what their usage is. And it can also help them make decisions to, not use something as much and realize, oh wow, like the lighting, we're using a lot of lighting power. Like, let's start shutting the lights off, and, get on the kids to start shutting the lights off when they leave their rooms. So that's another really cool technology. And, the other neat thing is, you can actually control your breakers from your phone. You can flip them off and then back on, which is neat. So I would say that's, as far as a new thing in the industry, that's a new up and coming thing, and something that like we offer as a company. So if a customer wanted to have a smart panel installed in their home, that's something that we're well versed in. So
That's very cool.
yeah.
Oh, and you mentioned something that triggered a good point that I wanted to at least bring up. Obviously, you work in the residentials, and you're trying to get more.
Yeah.
So, are there still a lot of knob and tube wiring in Maine that you see, and is that kind of like a call to action? Like, hey, if you have this, I'm willing. Our company is here to help you and update you so that you're safe.
Yeah. Knob and tube is still very, very much so in many homes in the state of Maine, and all over the country. But and it is something that we've done a lot of over the last 8 years. We're also really well versed in that area as well. We know how to come in and fish new wires in a house and cause very minimal, damage to finished surfaces, sheetrock, plaster. We still have to occasionally cut holes, to get wires up into like a light up in the ceiling, because of course we can't just magically make it go up through all the framing members, in the walls. But there is very much so quite a bit. And as far as from a safety standpoint, knob and tube certainly has the ability to be dangerous if it's not handled properly. Sometimes we've come behind situations where maybe someone that wasn't an electrician tried to replace a light or a switch or an outlet that had knob and tube on it, and they didn't do it properly, or the material is starting to break down, and now the wires become brittle, it's become exposed, which at that point can cause short circuits, and things to become also energized, and people could get electrocuted from that. But as far as from a National Electrical Code standpoint, knob and tube is still considered acceptable and not required to be removed. We are allowed to work with it if we need to, but we just have to make sure that everything we do meets code when we handle it. And so we try to tell customers that it would be very wise to replace it if it's in your budget. And we certainly don't scare people into saying like you need to do it, because it's even though like I said, if it's handled improperly, it can be unsafe. But if if it's left intact and it's handled properly, it's still okay and safe. It's not, an imminent fire hazard. Um, and so, but with a lot of insurance companies don't like it, certainly, and that's why we find ourselves coming in and doing a lot of these rewires, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, as the housing market kind of spiked and there was a lot of homes being sold in the area. And so when those homes went under contract, inspections were done, and during those inspections, knob and tube was found. And so insurance companies, of course, would, that would get disclosed to them. They would find out, and their requirements are, if it's got knob and tube, we can't insure it. And that's quite a few. I can't speak to all insurance companies, but a lot of them, if they know, if it's disclosed to them, they will say, we need it removed before we can insure you. So that's why there's been a huge uptick in rewires. So,
Well, what advice would you give somebody looking to start, whether it's to start a business in the electric field, or whether it's to just start a business in general, or whether it's to work for you? What would you give them for advice to kind of start that journey?
Okay. If you're starting a business, an electrical business, let's say, I would say have a bookkeeper. Start with a bookkeeper. Have a lawyer. Have an accountant. Those are all very important things to have, I would say, right from the get-go. Even if you are small and you don't have a lot going on right away, it's just good to have those relationships and connections already established, so that when the time comes to really need them, you have them. So I would say starting there. That's huge. And then letting yourself grow organically, which just comes from doing a great job, doing your work well, being integral, following up with clients, taking responsibility for anything that happens, and from there you'll grow organically, and then just grow slow. And that's what I tell a lot of like new business owners. Like I just met a plumber recently on a mutual project, and he's a one-man show, and I said, hey, you're in a great spot at the beginning. That's great. And I said, take it slow, take it easy. You can be very profitable as a 1 or 2 man show and make a good living. And then as you grow, let it just grow organically, and just be wise. And so that would be my advice that I would give to somebody. And for somebody that wants to come work for me, my expectations is that you would treat others respectfully, that you would want to be part of a team that wants to grow. I also, have an expectation of motivation and hard work ethic. Like I expect my guys to work really hard, to think things through, and to move intentionally with their work, and then make sure that there's good communication amongst each other, which does happen and is good. So, yeah.
Well, echoing those same things, if you're looking for an electrician who has a team with compassion, understanding, and work fluently together, and take each project slowly and understandably, and tackle those things. Hard work is a key thing that you've mentioned many times, and I can see that. I've seen it here. You definitely have a wonderful team, and you're a wonderful mentor, and you're doing that in the community. I hope that grows, and I look forward to that growth. I look forward to seeing more of your company. And if you're looking for any kind of electrical work, be it on a company or business that you're starting out, an expansion of one, or a residential, if you're just looking to get some work done, Nicholas Electric here is the go-to person when it comes to any electrical work.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on and kind of talking about the experience of what it's been like to be a business owner and grow that, and your experience of how you got here. So
Yeah.
I look forward to more incredible things from you.
No,
So,
absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Sean. Thanks for letting me come on.
thank you.
Yeah.